Hey people, it's Niles talking. This is another Black Artist video. Now this is Stephen Wiltshire, and I found out about him because you see some of his posts online. Now he is a very talented Black autistic artist. So here he goes, another Black Artist video, and this is from his website. So I'm reading it. Stephen Wiltshire, MBE, honor FSAI, honor FSSAA. I don't know what those words mean, but good anyway. Stephen Wiltshire, MBE, etc., is an artist who draws and paints detailed cityscapes. He has a particular talent for drawing lifelike, accurate representation of cities, sometimes after having only observed them briefly. He was awarded an MBE for services to the art world in 2006. Just hang on a sec, let me make this a bit bigger to read. He studied fine art at City and Guilds Art College. His drawings are popular all over the world and are held in a number of museums and important private and public collections. Stephen was born in London, United Kingdom, to West Indian parents on 24th of April 1974. As a child, he was mute and did not relate to other people. At age 3, he was diagnosed as autistic. He had no language and lived entirely in his own world. At the age of 5, Stephen was sent to Queens Mill School in London, where it was noticed that the only pastime he enjoyed was drawing. It soon became apparent he communicated with the world through the language of drawing, first animals, then London buses, and finally buildings. These drawings show a masterful perspective, a whimsical line, and reveal a natural innate artistry. The instructors at Queens Mill School encouraged him to speak by temporarily taking away his art supplies so that he would be forced to ask for them. Stephen responded by making sounds, and he eventually uttered his first word, paper. He learned to speak fully at the age of 9. His early illustrations depicted animals and cars. He is still extremely interested in American cars, and is said to have an encyclopedic knowledge of them. When he was about 7, Stephen became fascinated with sketching landmark London buildings. One of Stephen's teachers took a particular interest in him, who later accompanied his young student on drawing excursions and entered his work in children's art competitions, many of which garnered Stephen awards. The local press became increasingly suspicious as to how a young child could produce such masterful drawings. The start of a career. The media interest soon turned nationwide, and the 7-year-old Stephen Wiltshire made his first steps to launch his lifelong career. The same year, he sold his first work, and by the time he turned 8, he received his first commission from the British Prime Minister to create a drawing of Salisbury Cathedral. In February 1987, Stephen appeared in The Foolish Wise Ones. The show also featured savants with musical mathematical talents. During his segment, Hugh Casson, a former president of London's Royal Academy of Arts, referred to him as possibly the best child artist in Britain. Casson introduced Stephen to Margaret Hewson, a literary agent who helped Stephen field incoming book deals and soon became a trusted mentor. She helped Stephen publish his first book, Drawings, 1987, a volume of his early sketches that featured a preface by Casson. Hewson, known for her careful stewardship of her clients' financial interests, made sure a trust was established in Stephen's name so that his fees and royalties were used wisely. Hewson arranged Stephen's first trip abroad to New York City, where he sketched such legendary skyscrapers as the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building, as part of a feature being prepared by London-based International Television News. Meanwhile, in New York, Stephen met Oliver Sacks. Sacks was fascinated by the young artist, and the two struck up a long friendship. Sacks would eventually write extensively about Stephen. The resulting illustrations from his visit, along with sketches of sights in London Docklands, Paris, and Edinburgh, formed the basis for his second book, Cities, 1989, which also included some drawings of purely imaginary metropolises. And about this time, Stephen embarked on a drawing tour of Venice, Amsterdam, Leningrad, and Moscow, attracting crowds wherever he stopped to draw. He was accompanied part of the time by Sacks, who was conducting a research for a new book on Stephen's story. These drawings testify to ensure draftsmanship and an ability to convey complex perspective with consummate ease. But more importantly, they reveal his mysterious creative ability to capture the sensibility of a building and that which determines its character and his voice. It's this genius which set him apart and conferred upon him the status of artist. His third book, Floating Cities, 1991, contains the elaborate drawings he made on the tour. In 1992, Stephen accepted the invitation of a Tokyo-based television company to tour Japan and make drawings of various landmark structures, including the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building in Shinjuku and the Ginza shopping district. He then traveled to America once again, a trip that resulted in the book American Dream, which featured cityscapes of Chicago, San Francisco, New York, as well as the desert landscape of Arizona. Meanwhile, Stephen's artwork was being exhibited frequently in venues all over the world. In 2001, he appeared in another BBC documentary, Fragments of Genius, for which he was filmed flying over London aboard a helicopter and subsequently completing a detailed and perfectly scaled aerial illustration of a 4-square-mile area within 3 hours. His drawings include 12 historic landmarks and 2 other structures. In the late 2003, the Orleans House Gallery in Twickenham, England, held the first major retrospective of Wiltshire's works, spanning a period of 20 years. More than 40,000 visitors attended the exhibit, shattering the gallery's attendance record. Stephen took on his largest project to date in May 2005 when he returned to Tokyo to make a panoramic drawing, the largest of his career, of the city. 2 months later, he drew a similarly detailed picture of Rome, including the Vatican and St. Peter's Cathedral, entirely from memory. In December, after a 20-minute helicopter ride, Stephen spent a week creating a 10-meter-long drawing of Hong Kong's Victoria Harbour and the surrounding urban scene. He dedicated the work as a Christmas present to the city's residents. Later on, he added Frankfurt, Madrid, Dubai, Jerusalem, and London to his collection. The following drawings in the series was of his spiritual home, New York, where he embarked a 5-day marathon drawing on 6-meter canvas live on CBS. Artist of many talents. Contrary to the popular misconception, Stephen is only interested in capturing architecture and classic American cars. He often draws portraits of celebrities and close friends. In his private sketchbooks, Stephen started creating caricatures of his teachers at primary school and has since produced many caricature snapshots documented among incidents encountered on his trips abroad as well. Stephen Wiltshire's passion for buildings, cityscapes, and skylines continuously inspires him to revisit his favorite cities as well as discover new destinations while traveling the world. In a recent interview in New York, he revealed that the most intriguing qualities of an exciting city must have chaos and order at the same time. The avenues of scares, skyscrapers, as well as traffic jams, the chaotic rush hour, and people. In January 2006, it was announced that Stephen was being named by Queen Elizabeth II as a member of the Order of the British Empire in recognition of his services to the art world. It's an absolute honor, his sister Annette told Geoffrey Wansell for the London Daily Mail. It brought tears to Mum's eyes and to mine because we've all worked so hard for Stephen. Later that year, with the encouragement of Annette and her husband Zoltan, Stephen Wiltshire founded his own permanent art gallery in London's Royal Opera Arcade, London's oldest shopping arcade. The popular artist moved to more spacious premises in West London in 2019. Stephen's new private art studio is now located in Chelsea Harbour, London, welcoming his art collectors on an appointment-only basis. Genius grows up. In July 2014, Stephen was commissioned by Singapore PH to create a panoramic drawing of the city, which became part of the National Collection of Singapore to celebrate the nation's 50th birthday. 150,000 visitors attended his exhibition in just 5 days, setting a attendance record in the history of the country. Trips following Istanbul, Houston, Mexico City, and Doha, Qatar in 2019. The newly redesigned 80th floor observatory of the Empire State Building, New York, officially reopened, bearing Stephen's design based on his panorama drawing of the city he created in 2017 at the very same building as part of his live drawing show. The $165 million redevelopment also includes a new $10,000 square feet museum where visitors can purchase reproduction of our artist's work. In the same year, Stephen's new movie Billions of Windows premiered in London at Everyman Cinema in front of close fans and supporters. After 15 years in late 2019, the gallery moved to Notting Hill in West London, where Stephen and his team welcome visitors in his private studio he now calls the Wiltshire Pad. Stephen continues to draw every day and discover new cities and new methods to capture the world around us. His motto remains, do the best you can and never stop. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to leave his website in the description so people can check it out. And I'll try to put more of his social media in so you can see it. Throughout the video, I'm going to put images of his artwork so you can see it for yourselves. Anyway, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.